Do you want sex or do you want love? You probably thinking you want both. I know I want both. The ultimate goal should be to have it all. But the reality is that we have to be mindful of the decisions we make along the way that can easily derail us from receiving that healthy, loving relationship. And how we go about sex and sexual relations plays a huge role. So what we're talking about today is sex on the first date. I'm bringing back another Lost podcast episode where I break this discussion down. So take a look, watch it, but as always, watch till the end because I have an extra message to give you. I want you to answer the question below in the comment section. Do you think it's okay to have sex on the first date? What is your opinion? I want to hear from you guys and understand your perspective. Now, let's dive into this, all right? And there's several angles I want to touch on today that I feel like are very important. Now, we're going to start off with two specific angles, all right? And that's what men think about women after having sex on the first date, as well as can you have a successful relationship after having sex on the first date? Now, let's talk about men's perception of women. Now, I know some of you might be thinking, well, who the hell cares what the men think? Why are we talking about what the women think? Well, the reality is that it is rare to hear a woman take issue or judge a man after they've had sex on the first date. Not saying it doesn't exist. It can happen. But it's much more of a hot topic when we put it in the context of how men view women. And the reality is that a lot of women want to know. A lot of women are concerned about how is he going to view me? Will he judge me? Does it matter? So on and so forth. Now, let me talk about myself for a second. All right. Now, as I stand here before you or sit here before you today, I am a man of God and I have very strong spiritual views. But the reality is that I wasn't always this man of God. And I have lived a different life in the past. I have, I guess you could say, run the streets to a certain extent. I don't want you to think too poorly of me or anything like that. But, you know, I've done some things here and there. With that said, I've experienced sex on the first date. And I can tell you about me back then. Back then, I did not judge a woman because we had sex on the first date. In my opinion, it was we're grown adults, we're doing our thing. I'm doing it with you. Why should I look at you any differently? I'm not looking at myself any differently. It's all good. To me, if I did not want to see you pass a first date, it wasn't because we had sex. It might have been because the sex was bad, all right? It might have been because I didn't see any interest in dealing with you past sex, all right? Maybe it was just a thrill of the moment, caught up in the moment, whatever you want to call it. But in no way was I judging anyone. Now, that was me then, and me now, I still won't judge you. Now, here's the thing. I'm not trying to have sex on the first date, all right? But we'll get into that a little bit later. But the reality is that I still don't judge women, and I have a lot of male friends who are the same. They don't judge women when it comes to sex and sex on the first date. But I would be wrong if I allowed you to believe that there aren't a lot of men who will judge you. All right. And there aren't a lot of men there are a lot of men who, even if they don't take issue initially with you having sex on the first date, it can become an issue later. So let me give you a quick story. I know a guy and he met this girl, you know, they hit it off and they had sex on the first night. And that actually turned into them having a relationship. And they were together for a couple years. But at this point in the story, let's say they were together for about a year. About a year. Now, some turmoil hit the relationship. And she started acting funny. They were having some rough times. And I never forget, he was talking to one of his friends or one of our friends about the situation. And I guess they were there was rumors that she may have been entertaining some guy. Not saying they were true, but I think people were just talking and making stuff up. But either way, the male friend, our friend said to him, well, you know, you did have sex with her on the first night. Like, not saying it in the context of, well, you know what you did, in the context of, you know what kind of woman you're dealing with. All right. So basically, when something went wrong in the relationship, now this action of having sex on the first date became an issue, or it planted a seed of doubt of how will this woman move, or how did this woman move in general? How quickly will she possibly cheat on me or be unloyal to me? How quickly will she deal with some other guy, whatever the case may be? Now, I'm not here to say that any of that is fair or accurate in the way they were perceiving her. I'm simply bringing light to the fact that it can cause a problem, all right? Now, should you as a woman make your decision simply based off of how men are going to perceive you? I don't think so. To me, it's a lot deeper than that. There's a lot more to consider that's more important when we talk about sex on the first date. But we still have to discuss the fact that, yes, it can have a negative impact on the way men perceive you. Now, I think in today's society, I would argue there are more men who aren't going to judge you. I would argue that there are more men who would still be willing to be in a serious relationship with you regardless of sex on the first date. I also would say that there are men who will claim such things because they want you to feel comfortable having sex on the first date, but will have no intention of being with you. I can't give you the numbers. Like, I don't know if it's 50%, 60%, whatever it is, but I know that both sides do exist. And so if you're a woman and you are trying to use this idea of how men are going to perceive you in your willingness to have sex or not on that first date, then what I would say to you is that there is a great chance it will be held against you, if not today, sometime down the line. So it's safer, if that is your concern, to hold off. Like someone once said to me, I've never heard a man say, man, I can't be with her, she didn't have sex on the first date. You know what I'm saying? Like, no one's really been discounted for a serious relationship because they didn't. But plenty of people have been knocked out the box because they did. So it's your choice, all right? But you might be thinking, well, what about these situations where the men won't judge? So we said, okay, can you have a successful relationship after having sex on the first date? Yes, it is possible. However, I would argue it is not highly likely. All right. Now, I've heard a lot of people there's a story of, I believe it's Chrissy Teigen and John Legend. And she talks about how, she wanted to have sex on the first date. So when they went on their first date, she knocked out. She wanted to make sure, I guess, they were sexually compatible, all these things. And here they are. They're married. They seem happy. Everything seems great. So again, and I've heard plenty of other people say, well, I've had sex on the first date and now I'm married to them. There are success stories. I would never argue that. However, for every one success story, I could probably show you 100 to 1,000 more failures. All right. 100 to 1,000 more people who have nothing to show for that sex on the first date. And if they do have something to show for it, it may be a baby with the wrong person. It may be a disease. It may be all kinds of other issues that came about from that decision. Now, of course, that could happen even if you waited 3 dates, 3 months, 3 years. However, the point is that giving yourself more time does work in your favor. But we'll get into that. Put a pin in that. So again, let's go back to having this successful relationship after having sex on the first date. Again, it is possible because I do feel like if two people have a genuine connection, but they happen to venture down the path of having sex, and let me make it clear, I'm not saying you should. I'm not saying it's quote unquote okay. I'm not giving you don't say Stephan is supporting the idea of having it, but I am saying that yes, it can happen. And success can still be found. But the reality is that with having sex on the first date, there are pitfalls that come with that. There are issues that you have to be very aware of. There are dangers. And a lot of times we are overlooking it because we want to use the minority success stories to define how we're going to approach it for the majority. And that is the wrong way to go about it. If I said to you that you could win the lottery 1% of the time if you invested $1,000 a month, all right? You're not going to say that's a great investment. You're not going to say that's a smart thing to do. Can some people win the lottery that way? Absolutely. But most people will lose their money. So yes, we could say 1, 3, 10% of people had sex on the first date and end up in a successful relationship. But how can you ignore the 90% who didn't? How can you not look at that and consider that in how you're going to move forward? Now, what are these specific downfalls? What are these dangers we're talking about? All right. Well, number one, emotional attachment. The reality is that there are a lot of people right now dealing with someone longer than they should have, that should have never been in their life to begin with. And it all stemmed from sexual relations with them too early. Now, yes, again, can this happen even if you wait? It absolutely can. But when you do it early and you have not given yourself time to figure out who you're dealing with, you're increasing the chances of something going wrong here. All right. You're increasing the chances of attaching yourself to an individual who's going to be a nightmare in your life. And so you want to at least increase the odds in your favor by giving yourself more time. Again, even if you want to say to me, but the chemistry is amazing, we were feeling it, we were into each other. What does it hurt you to wait? Like, you don't lose nothing by waiting, but you can lose so much by moving too fast. So emotional attachment, again, has created this dynamic of people being stuck. And I hate to use the word stuck because I feel like you can always walk away if you tap into that strength that you have within you. But so many people get left feeling stuck and struggle to walk away because the sex is so good. But here's the kicker. Sometimes the sex ain't even that great. Now, I know some of y'all thinking that's ridiculous. Like, why would anyone be attached to someone when the sex isn't even that great? Well, I'm going to be honest with y'all. That's less likely to happen with the guys. It can happen, but it's less likely to happen. But I've seen it happen time and time again with the women. So many women are attached to a man right now and the sex is not great. Don't be confused or don't fall for the hype a lot of people are selling. When you get people behind closed doors, you find out a lot of women are not sexually satisfied, yet they still find themselves attached to this man because they gave themselves to this man, or because they want so badly for this to work, or maybe he has other good qualities, or what. There's a myriad of reasons why they find themselves struggling to walk away, but do not assume it's just because, quote unquote, the sex is good. Either way, emotional attachment is a huge danger you have to be mindful of. Number two, that emotional attachment leads to clouded judgment. The reality is that if your goal is to have a real relationship, and I'm here not to help you have casual situations. I'm here to help you have true love, real relationships that can turn into marriage, real success. And with that being the goal, when you have sex too early, again, you diminish your ability to properly evaluate the individual. Because, again, you can get caught up emotionally. Let's just say it is good. And let's say it's amazing, but they're toxic as hell. A lot of people will overlook that toxic energy, those toxic behaviors, because they're being sexually satisfied. And because for some people that can be hard to come by, finding that person that you really feel like you really, really enjoy sexually, you now try to rationalize reasons to hold on to this individual. So your judgment is completely compromised because you move too fast. Again, you are not hurt by waiting, but you can hurt yourself immensely by moving too quick. So you've got to be honest with yourself. Can you properly evaluate this individual while still having sex with them that soon? Can you focus on what's more important, which is the connection, which is not chemistry, but again, connection, but which is shared values, which is being on the same page, which is even wanting the same things? Or will you get lost in the intimacy? Like, if we don't even know if we want the same things with each other, how are we jumping in bed with each other? That's a huge mistake. You've got to catch yourself. Again, I repeat, just because some people have been fortunate enough to be successful does not mean that is the common outcome for people. And you don't want to set yourself up for failure by thinking, well, it won't happen to you. It happens to most, all right? But in addition to clouded judgment and being able to evaluate, is this the right person for me? Can we have a real relationship? Here's something people don't think about, and that's the skewed perception that is created by having sex too early. And here's what I mean by that. A lot of people think that sexual chemistry is this thing that's either there or it's not, all right? And so they want to jump into bed very quickly because we got to see if we click. Because if we don't, then clearly this can't work. But the reality is that sexual chemistry sometimes is a product of connection and time. Time in learning each other, time in becoming comfortable with each other. Because let me paint this picture for you. You could have a scenario where man and woman sleep together first night. And even though they both willingly engaged in sex that night, that woman may have still been uncomfortable to a certain degree about maybe this is too soon. She's overthinking. She's in her head about the situation, even though physically she's moving forward. Hell, even the man can be so overly anxious because, man, he's been lusting and wanting this woman and now he's finally in bed with her. And that energy on both sides can lead to a poor performance. The man being overly anxious, the woman not being completely comfortable. And it leads to a sexual experience that doesn't match the true potential those two individuals could experience with each other if they had enough time to become more comfortable with each other, to I guess, more mentally be prepared for this moment, and to establish or to make sure a connection was even there to begin with. So I've seen people cut individuals off because they thought, oh, the sex was bad, this isn't gonna work. Not realizing it wasn't bad because the person is not capable, it was bad because of underlying issues. We have to understand that sometimes people need time to fully open up sexually to each other. It's not just right off the bat. On the flip side, I've seen people sleep with someone first night or first week or whatever, and let's say it was amazing, all right? And now they think they think this can last. They think, okay, well, I met this person, I like them, the sex is great, this can work. Not understanding that it's fool's gold. That initial performance, they may have been able to come with their A game, right? But here's the thing. If there's not a real connection between you two, that ability to pleasure you and to pour into your needs will not be sustainable. Because in order to be great lovers, in order to sexually please each other, we have to be selfless in bed. We have to be in tune with each other's needs, in tune with each other's bodies. And the reality is that if there is not a connection, then when that initial phase goes away, where people want to impress each other, they no longer have the motivation and desire to please you like that anymore. They don't like you enough to want to make sure you're getting what you need sexually. So you see many relationships that start off hot and heavy and they fizzle out big time. Many people who got married to someone who they thought she's a freak or he's all this, and when they got married, it went away. But it wasn't about whether you're compatible or not sexually, or whether the chemistry was there, because chemistry, again, isn't just it's there or it's not. It is a product of getting in tune with each other, time, being comfortable with each other. There's a lot of other factors that can come into play, and that initial stage, that first date or first week or whatever, sometimes it's not real. It's not what you think it is. And so you're making decisions and you're creating perceptions of this individual in this situation based off a faulty foundation. So again, what would be best if we're focusing on having real relationships and something long-term and successful, You got to focus on connection. Now, I'm not going to get into connection today in this episode because we need a whole separate episode to dive into connection. But I need you to understand that is the key to long-term sustainable sex. That is the key to truly pleasuring each other and reaching a level sexually with each other that you are not going to reach with anyone else. A lot of people don't even know what real good sex is. I'm going to tell you, some of y'all think y'all had good sex. It's not what you think it is yet. There's so much more to tap into. But all that to say, listen, at the end of the day, you're an adult. You're going to make a decision that you want to make. You're going to do what you want to do. I personally, if it's up to me, when someone asks me, is it okay to have sex on the first date? My response is, I do not think it's wise. Now, can it happen? Yes. Hell, I don't know if I'll ever slip up and it'll happen to me. However, I mean, again, it's happened in the past, but I'm not going to judge you no matter what the action is that you take. But I am here to tell you it's not the best approach. It's not the smartest thing to do. If you want something real, if you want to set yourself up or give yourself a better chance at a successful relationship, just wait. Just wait. Allow yourself time to get to know someone. Allow yourself time to make sure you guys are on the same page, have a connection, all right? And that you have a better idea of who you're laying down with. And let me also throw this in. If this is not a person you could stand the idea of having a child with, or a person you think could be a good parent in that child's life, then don't even have the sex, man. Like, man or woman, like, yo, I see too many people laying up with individuals who become nightmare baby daddies or baby mothers. And it's like, yo, if you gave yourself time to evaluate this person, it's clear the red flags was there. It's clear they cannot be that person in your life or child's life. So if you cannot even see them as that, it's not worth laying down with them. It's not worth moving forward. We got too much dysfunction as it is. We got to clean this up. We got to start making better decisions. But again, the choice is yours. But if you're asking me, I say don't do it. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. Again, if you notice, I didn't really get deep into the whole spiritual side of why we should wait and why waiting is best. I'm going to make a completely different video for that. But I just wanted to discuss this topic because the reality is that a lot of people, believe it or not, has either engaged, consider engaging in it, or just find themselves possibly having sex very quickly after meeting someone. So again, you just have to be honest with yourself about what you can handle, what's truly best. If you are a believer, of course, in general, I just think waiting as much as you can is the best way to go. But as I mentioned in the clip, we're human. Mistakes will be made, or some people are just going to watch this video and say, hey, you know what? I don't care. I haven't had any problems. I'm going to keep doing it. Just know what you're setting yourself up for. And if you're okay with that, you're a grown adult. You make your own decisions. But I want to give you perspective to help you navigate through this topic, through this dynamic a lot better. Hey, thank you for watching this video. Be sure to check this one out right here, and I'll see you there. Sex has contributed to a lot of people holding on to someone they should have let go of a long time ago. But it's also contributing to a lot of people having a disconnect in their relationship with